Today we are discovering what secrets Survivor the Amazon did not tell us in the edited television show. We are going to look at secrets that are game related, some that are personal thoughts, and some that are just plain silly, and we will even find out all the details on how this season was spoiled way in advance by a book, how Jenna Morasca put on one of the worst wrestling performances of all time, and how the players of this season tried to rig the Survivor auction. Basically, as long as it isn't part of the show that aired on television, it is fair game to be considered a secret. And while most of the secrets here are focused on season 6, The Amazon, some of them do apply to Survivor as a whole. With that, thanks for watching Once Upon an Island. Liking and subscribing really helps the channel. And if you want to pick what videos I make and watch every video weeks and even months early, then consider supporting this channel on Patreon. Patreon makes everything here possible and allows the channel to be free of sponsors and advertisers. Thank you for your support. Heads up, this list contains the secrets that I personally found to be the most interesting. Not every single secret in existence about this season is in this video. So with that, let's count all 47 of them in absolutely no particular order.
39 days, 16 people, 1 survivor.
Number 1. Advertising over the years has changed drastically, and back when Survivor was pretty new, they did not care about telling you who you should be rooting for in their minds. For example, this advertisement going into the finale basically says, yeah, root for Matt.
CBS Sunday night. 4 survivors are left in the season finale. Rob, the deceiver. Jenna, the alluring one. Butch has flown under the radar, and Matt seems unstoppable.
Number 2. Another ad back from when the show began really focuses on the general perception that the public had that the men would dominate the women and it would not be close.
Last week, the Survivor Battle of the Sexes began, and the men lost. CBS Thursday, they'll go to extremes to win back their pride. But the women
It's dog eat dog.
have a plan to keep kicking butt. Don't miss an all-new Survivor, CBS Thursday.
Number 3. Rob Cesternino now has a podcast, and back in 2015, he did a long detailed series on the show, which includes his time on the Amazon. Links in the description. Here's what he said took place before the game began, along with the show having a general distaste for Big Brother.
The arrival to the Amazon, where we were sort of like on this preserve, and the water in the Amazon, it's like, as opposed to the other seasons, it's just, it's the Rio Negro. It's the water is black. You can't see what's in the water. We went to this place and it was like, okay, Mark Burnett wants to address everybody. You are all here for the adventure of a lifetime. For the first time ever, you're all going to have your own machete. There are anacondas. There are caiman crocodiles. And he's telling us about all the horrible things. And he's like, but take in the adventure of a lifetime. And he's like, if you're not here for the adventure, you should go be on Big Brother. And I'm like, oh my God.
I tried that.
Mark Burnett hates me. Because that was the thing. I think that Lynn Spillman had said to me, it's like, oh, Mark Burnett, he's really doesn't like Big Brother. And if he's not crazy about the fact that you wanted to be on Big Brother, and if you tell anybody that you applied for Big Brother, you'll be voted out right away. And so Mark Burnett really hates that.
Number 4. Some of you know how there is a forum called Survivor Sucks that existed well before Facebook, Twitter, or Reddit, and on there was a user named The Chill One who procured the boot list and created a 140-page book out of it that he kind of just slapped together between the show filming and airing. It isn't a good read, but it made the season so spoiled that this is why some believe the edit dumps on Jenna to subvert people's expectations. Number 5. Rob Cesternino wrote a horror film called The Scorned that released in 2005, and while it isn't good, it does feature some Survivor players dying in the film, one of them being Jenna Morasca, who probably has my favorite death scene in the whole film.
Yeah, just how I like my men. Wet with big sticks.
Number 6. There's no other way to put this. Jenna Morasca is a terrible wrestler. I don't know who thought she would be good to begin with, but her time in TNA on an actual pay-per-view was voted as the worst wrestling match of 2009. Here are some lowlights.
I don't think she's dealt with anything like this at Survivor.
I mean, this is just a beatdown right now. Let's control this match here from the start.
Pretty cocky look on the face of Charmel. We saw that close-up look, almost a concerned look on the face of Awesome Pop.
Situation where she caught Charmel by surprise coming off those ropes. Always felt like she had the slight advantage just by being in this business for 10 years, but now you see Jenna just paintbrushing. Get the video camera.
Here's your winner, Jenna Morasca!
Number 7. Do you remember the granola bar incident from the season? It was a much lesser version of the beef jerky incident from the Australian outback, as the women found an uneaten granola bar in their supplies, and this ends up tainting Janet's perception by everyone. Here's what she says after the show is done.
You could set the record straight.
I did
clear your
not bring
conscience.
in the granola bar.
Absolutely not?
Absolutely not. It was not mine. I adore Survivor. It's my favorite show.
We're going to turn on the big hot lights. We can make you confess.
Do it. Do it.
All right.
Lie detector.
Personally, I believe her. And here is Rob's point of view on this as someone who was on the season as well.
Now, I can tell you that these are the same sort of granola bar. I don't think it was quite a granola bar. It's kind of like a fruit bar type thing. And this is the same thing that we had available to us to eat at Ponderosa. Any of those 8 people would have had access to that at Ponderosa in pregame to smuggle it into the game.
Number 8. It is always funny to see how our reactions today compare to those who watched this season live. I was only in high school myself when the Amazon was airing, but it's hard for me to really remember the season because Pearl Islands and All Stars kind of dominated right after. But anyways, the interviewer from the early show actually compares this season to Thailand. Did they even watch Thailand?
I would say of the survivors that I've watched, this seems to be the most mean-spirited, most gloves off. You're a fan of the show.
I love the show.
Last night, I'm sitting there watching. You have no shelter.
Yeah.
People are laying around. They got bad attitude.
Number 9. I always wondered what the show does to prep the players before the season starts, as I am sure it varies from location to location back when they actually moved locations. Well, in the Amazon, they basically tried to scare them.
Because then Mark Burnett was like, all right, so you guys are going to go and see the danger up close. And he said that we were going to go look at the crocodiles. They took all of us, and now it's like dark when we come out of this thing. They decided that they were going to like take us in a boat and they were going to show us like where the crocodiles were. And we're in like canoes, like paddling in a body of water, like in the Amazon. It's like pitch black. And then they're like shining the flashlight across the water, like, and they're like basically saying like, in the distance, see those red dots? Those are the eyes of the crocodiles. They really don't, they hate it when we make noise. It makes them really mad. And then the guys are like banging on the side of the boat. So I don't know if Mark Burnett's like, all right, take them out there and scare the hell out of them.
Number 10, let's talk about it. What was a big deal at the time would probably never happen in a modern Survivor season. I mean, could you imagine modern Survivor rooting for women to take off their shirts for food? I can't. Here's Jeff Probst's take on the event.
Yeah, the Amazon is probably best known for the girls who got naked for chocolate and peanut butter. And how that went down was we started this thing where we were gonna have these long challenges and they were gonna last all day, and it was who wanted the most would get it. And then we realized we're gonna be out here for 13 hours. It's killing the production. So we start tossing out, I've got donuts, I've got an ice cold beer, I've got some peanuts, and Jenna and Heidi go, we'll get naked for peanut butter and chocolate. And as fast as they could say it, I am breathing down into my microphone going, get some peanut butter and chocolate. And it literally took 45 minutes for one of our guys in the boat to drive back to base camp, get from catering some peanut butter and chocolate and get back. And then it suddenly arrives at my side and we, have a great scene where they literally took their clothes off. And what's funny is it was such a big deal. It's still funny that in the middle of $1 million, people got all giddy over the fact that 2 women took their clothes off.
Number 11, Ryan Aiken is such a massive flirt, and I say this because in his early show interview after he is voted out, and I've watched a lot of these, and no one else has done this, he leans hard with flirting with Julie Chen, who is not at all interested.
Happy Valentine's Day.
You're already off the island. Oh, why thank you. This is not going to get you back in the Amazon, but thank you very much.
We look good in red. We picked outfits out together, we look good.
What were your book of goodies? Like manipulate these women with your good looks or what?
I appreciate that. You can tell me that again later.
Number 12, believe it or not, The Simpsons parodied Survivor during the season, even specifically referencing the Amazon during their season 14 episode Helter Shelter.
Monsters, You turned this show into a Survivor clone.
Do we get lunch?
We're not allowed to interfere with the reality of the show, which reminds me, burn the leftovers, leave nothing.
We were a tribe on another reality show, but we lost the final challenge.
I just couldn't eat any more kangaroo testicles.
Is it so gosh darn hard to get cocktail sauce in the middle of the Amazon?
TV was the one good thing in my life, and now I can't enjoy it anymore. I'll use my eye to see what the trouble is.
Number 13, the Survivor auction. Please bring it back. We all love it, and while this season's may be most memorable for when Christy gets her letter, Jenna cries, and then gets her letter from Jeff, who wants to look like a good guy, it turns out that behind the scenes, the players were trying to rig this auction.
So the collusion is that everybody wants to eat. And everybody's like, okay, we got the auction, we've got the money, why bid against each other? We were trying to sort of stifle the auction economy. Okay, so the auction starts and we have this plan and we're like, oh, this is good. This is good. We're all gonna get to eat so much. So first item up for bid, cheesecake. Let's start the bidding at 120, I think it was. Heidi's like 120. No other bids.
No bids.
Okay, going and sold. Next item comes up. Whatever the second item is, nobody else bids. It's, goes to whoever, nobody else bids, sold. Jeff's like, all right, you guys aren't going to bid? Maybe we'll just end the auction. Or maybe I'll just cover everything. And then so we got reamed out by Jeff about that nobody is bidding on anything. So now he's going to cover every item now the rest of the way. So we won't be able to know what happens. And if we don't start bidding, he's going to end the auction.
Oh my gosh.
Right away.
Number 14, you may know Randy Bailey from Survivor Gabon, and you need to know he was applying for Survivor for many years, which includes around this season when he submitted this Brady Bunch parody as his audition.
Here's the story of a man named Bailey who was trying for Survivor once again. He has tried before, they never called him, much to his chagrin. Here's the story of a man named Bailey. He's a loser and he knows that that's a fact.
Cut! Stop the music.
Number 15, if you ever watched David Letterman and anytime he had a Survivor contestant on his show, you quickly learn how much he doesn't care about it at all. In fact, he makes fun of anyone who loses, which is kind of his shtick, to be fair. And here's Rob Cesternino on the show post All-Stars.
I'm great, Dave. How are you doing?
Good. Now, did you win a Survivor? Is that why you got on the All-Star team?
No, Dave. I've never won Survivor.
So we have nothing but losers on the show. How come we've never seen you before?
Because I was such a good loser that I came so close to the end that you just talked to the winner.
I see. Oh.
Number 16, Rob is quick on the gun with the jokes while on Letterman as he gets some of the dumbest questions asked to him. But this doesn't deter him from making his own jokes.
And what about that naked guy? Is he still out there on that island?
Yes, he is, and he's still naked.
Was there any hanky-pankies
he
on
always
there?
asks the hanky-panky question.
Well, actually, there was, but there was so much it was hanky-skanky.
Whoa!
If my parents would have known what was going on, they would have never let me go on this trip.
Number 17, on The Office, that's right, The Office, this season is referenced. Out of all the seasons, I'm sure some of you are surprised to hear this, as I am to discover it. But when Ryan got fired from corporate for doing a lot of things, he actually references Joanna of all people.
Do I regret what I did? Of course I do. Anyone see Survivor season 6? Anyone know Joanna on that show? In New York City, I hooked up with a girl who looked exactly like that. Indistinguishable. So,
okay.
Number 18, Rob's voting confessional when he sings to Roger is cut from all streaming platforms. I'm serious. Go and watch episode 7 and you'll see how they don't show this, which is a shame, but thankfully it's still on the DVDs, which I will play for you, and then I'll follow up with how mad Jeff got at Rob for doing this.
Here comes tonight's long distance dedication. Dear Casey, there's a mean old man in my life that's about to leave. Could you please play something appropriate for me? Well, Rob, here's your request. Na 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 na, na 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 na. Hey, 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 goodbye.
Jeff Probst is gets really nasty with me and was like, well, I hope you're satisfied with yourself because just so you know, there is a 0% chance that is ever going to make it on the show. So Jeff was pissed. I guess apparently Roger had heard that as well. And so I can't imagine that was a good thought for him. But Jeff was really mad.
Number 19. Before this season premiered, Saturn, of all companies, was privileged to put out a promotional DVD for the show called Inside the Tribe. Now, this is included in the box set DVD for the season, and in it has Rob and his future infamous Belle.
I'm a 22-year-old internet projects coordinator from Wantagh, New York, and I would love to play your game. I'm certainly not one-dimensional. On the outside, it's all fun and games and jokes and having a good time. But on the inside, I am a cold, calculating, manipulative player who's dying to vote these other 15 jerks back home to the United States. What I'm going to do if I win $1 million is hang out with a lot of hot girls.
Number 20. As I said previously though, this was basically a way to promote Saturn, and while the box set kind of cuts out all the promotional material for Saturn for a good reason, someone did us all a favor by uploading the original to YouTube, and I really want to see us all rally to win a brand new 2003 Saturn Ion.
Now that you've gone inside the tribe, log on to cbs.com/win-an-ion for your chance to get inside a new Saturn Ion or into the audience at the Survivor Amazon finale and live reunion show. Just submit your name and address along with the following password, Soul Survivor, and you could win.
Number 21. So this one is a bit odd and I couldn't find anything definitive on what ended up happening, but Jenna was accused of biting a police officer.
It's 15 years after her win, Jenna Morasca is suspected of attacking a police officer in Washington County.
Now, police say that she was passed out behind the wheel of her car and went after the officer when he revived her.
South Strabane officers arrived on the scene. I went to the station but got few answers, but did learn that no charges have been filed against Morasca. Police quickly determined the reality star was under the influence. They administered Narcan to revive her and then placed her in an ambulance. And that's when, according to TMZ, that Morasca began fighting with officers and paramedics and ended up biting an officer on the arm.
Number 22. We didn't see this on the show, but Daniel contracted malaria while in the Amazon, and talk about things that are just no fun.
That's right. Actually, I got sick with malaria after I got back from the Amazon.
Right. But you clearly contracted it there?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And how are you feeling? What's your prognosis?
I'm feeling great right now. I was diagnosed with Plasmodium vivax malaria, which is probably the most intense strain of malaria.
Wow.
My temperature shot up to 105.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm okay now.
Number 23. Earlier I mentioned what prep the show gives the players before they go on, and earlier we learned that they tried to scare them crapless. But here we actually get more of an answer from Rob when he talks about how they all got survival training and basically did them all no good.
We did like 3 days or so of training with the nature guides. Yeah, it was good information to have, but probably not a ton of stuff that I ended up using personally in the game. But they showed us how to build a house. They showed us, how to catch fish or how to climb a tree and how to do all of these skills that you were going to need, but again, easier said than done. And they showed us how to make a lean-to and how to, but again, you watch a guy do it for an hour and then, okay, now you go do it. It's, it's not exactly like watching a YouTube video of, how to make a paper airplane.
Number 24. Rob Cesternino originally wasn't trying to get on Survivor when he applied, but instead Big Brother. His story of how he applied for that other show and Mark Burnett's distaste for it, and how he eventually ended up on Survivor almost by accident, is pretty entertaining.
I applied to be on Big Brother 2, Big Brother 3, I'm sorry. And it was in the spring of 2002. Again, I had just watched Survivor Africa. Survivor Marquesas was on. It seemed very difficult. And while I said, hey, I bet there's 100,000 people applying for Survivor, I said, how many people could be applying for Big Brother? And I had sent him my tape for Big Brother. It just so happened that in the middle of September, I was at a golf course with my boss. And they were like, hey, so, and they said, this is so-and-so from Survivor, and do you want to be on Survivor? And I was like, again, I thought what? What do you mean do I want to be on Survivor? And they said, yeah, we remember you from Big Brother. Do you want to do Survivor? I said, okay, sure. And they said, okay, good. We want to fly you out to LA to meet with everybody about Survivor because we are almost done with casting for Survivor, but we want somebody like you. Then I met with Lynn Spillman and I met with everybody from Survivor, and they were like, okay, we thought you were funny, and they were like pitching me to Mark Burnett as like, oh, he's funny, he's like a Jerry Seinfeld, and so he would be good for the show, but don't talk about Big Brother because Mark Burnett hates Big Brother. I had said to Lynn Spillman, I was like, I wrote my thesis paper in college about the impact of Survivor on broadcasting. And Lynn Spillman was like, tell Mark that. He'll love that. And so, I got into the room and I was telling him.
I also wrote a book on Survivor.
Yes. So I got back into the room, and then I sat down in the chair in front of everybody, and like Les Moonves started making fun of me right away. And he's like, hey, you're the guy that lives in the basement, right? I'm like, yep, yeah, that's me. I felt good about how that went. But again, I did not really think I was going to be on Survivor. And there was like 10 other guys there. And then they bring me back into the room, and now it's just the two girls from casting. We want to tell you that, you're going to be on the show.
Number 25. Out of everyone I've ever seen get voted off the show, Joanna might be the happiest of them all. As she says in her final words,
giving God the highest praise for allowing me the opportunity to be here for 12 days and setting me free to go back and eat and be the person that I really am. I have a big smile on my face because I didn't know my purpose for coming here in the first place. I never thought it was cute to be in the jungle for 39 days. And I prayed and prayed and prayed all night and all today that I could go home and eat some good food and just meditate and do the things that I need to do and be safe. And he has answered that request. And I'm very elated that he has not made me stay here another 3 days. I mean, it is so thrilling to be able to go and take care of myself.
Number 26. Let's contrast Joanna to Jean, who is none too pleased to be voted off and basically pins everything, and I mean everything, on Heidi as to why she's out instead of taking any responsibility for herself.
Obviously, I'm the strongest of the females, and I'm getting stronger every day. I feel great out in the jungle, but she won. Heidi screwed me, and I think she is a nasty person. She's lied a lot, and I should have just changed my vote to begin with and tried to make the time to align with one of the guys. I didn't.
Number 27. Rob was forced to bring a Speedo this season. Why, you may ask? Well, the answer turns out to be pretty funny.
Went through the casting process. They give you like the list of all the stuff you have to buy, and on the list of things that you had to bring to Survivor was like, oh, you need to bring a Speedo underwear. And I'm like, well, I've never seen anybody wear a Speedo on Survivor. Why do I have to bring a Speedo? Like, oh, they always have it. It's just like another pair of underwear. They've had it on every season. And then when I go to Miami, on my way to go to the Amazon, like the two women that I talked about that were the handlers, like they came in with like a video camera and like, oh, Rob, so are you ready to find out where you're going on Survivor? Like, they're like, you're going to the Amazon. Ah! I'm like, oh my God. And then like literally the next thing they ask is like, and hey, remember that Speedo we told you to wear? I'm like, yeah. Like, well, there's a fish in the Amazon that wants to swim up your penis. And if you don't wear a Speedo in the water, then they'll have to amputate your penis. Like, oh, good.
Number 28. In Roger's final unedited words, he is trying to guess who did and who didn't vote for him, including why he thinks Rob didn't vote for him, which is so funny in retrospect.
I know I voted for Christy. I think he is probably one of the three. I may be wrong on that. And I think the other one could be Rob. But he spent a lot of time talking up there. And my guess is it really wasn't Rob. I think Rob voted for Christy. I was thinking ahead of myself there.
Well, Rob, here's your request. Na 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 na, na 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 na. Hey, 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 goodbye.
Number 29. In Dina's post-game early show interview, Julie Chen is on the hate Rob Cesternino bandwagon, and Dina straight up does not care like a boss.
Rob, who said that you guys have this secret thing going, the secret alliance through and through, because the knife sticking out of your back right now has his fingerprints all over it. Wait, have you watched the other Survivors?
Yes.
This is like the most conniving bunch, in my opinion.
Well, we're all seasoned veterans. This is Survivor number 6, so we have
past experiences to go off of, and I would hope so because it makes the show more exciting.
Number 30. Most of the final words from players this season are pretty calm, even if they are super salty against someone in the game. Christy, on the other hand, you better believe she is super mad.
You have to be a liar to be in this game. You have to backstab. You have to just your way to get to the final. And I trusted you. I developed trust, and I knew from day one, don't trust anybody. So if you're gonna be on Survivor, don't trust anybody and just try to play the game however the way the game's supposed to be played.
Number 31. On a lighter note from Christy's final words, I'm not really sure how else to say this besides the fact that she hugs a tree.
I want to hug the tree. I mean, look at this tree behind me. It's just, incredible.
Number 32. Every so often, we hear how people try and cover for why they're gone for 2 months from those around them. They really aren't supposed to tell family and friends that they're gone for Survivor. CBS says, don't do this or you get in trouble. So here is what Rob used as his cover story.
I worked for a family friend and I told him what was going on. And then he was sort of in on the story of like that I was going to be going overseas to go and work with the developers of the software our company was using in Prague. Now, I think I voted out on a Wednesday. I think the final tribal council was on a Thursday. And then we were back home by Saturday. And then I went back to work on Monday. So I went back to work 4 days after. And everybody is like, we are not buying this story that you went to Prague. And everybody is like, there was like stuff on the internet of like who the rumored Survivor contestants are. And everyone's like, were you on Survivor? I was like, no, I was in Prague.
Number 33. As we saw on the show, Roger did not care for Ryan Aiken at all, which is why he was gone first. Well, apparently, this didn't begin during the show, his hatred for him, but actually before it when they were at Ponderosa.
Roger really hated him. And because I think that Ryan Aiken had been sick in the pregame, the food did not agree with Ryan Aiken. And so he would have like a touch of the diarrhea, I believe. We were sleeping in the Ewok village and we were all on like hammocks. And it was sort of like, there was like, 4 people like per layer of like this hammock. And there was sort of like a staircase in the middle. And so I think Ryan was like all the way on the top level. And so he would have the upset stomach. And so he was making like 1 million trips to the bathroom at night. And allegedly the story is that, he would go up and down the stairs. And I'm a deep sleeper, but apparently Roger isn't. And so Ryan Aiken would be like 100 times a night. Then Roger was very annoyed with Ryan even before the game started.
Number 34. In the commentary on the All Stars episodes, Jenna and Rob are commenting together and they bring up the Amazon, which winds up with us learning that Jenna was sneaking around and spying on others before Sandra ever did this. Why was this not on the edited show?
That's a page out of your book, the eavesdropping.
I eavesdropped last on my season on
Jenna used to when we were
on you and Christy.
Yeah, when we were in the Amazon, she used to.
I would sneak around.
Yeah, and then she'd pretend she was asleep.
You saw me?
No, you when you by the fire, you'd pretend you were asleep,
yeah, I did.
And then
everybody would reveal all their strategies.
and people would come and try to talk to me. I'm like, don't try to talk to me right now. Jenna's pretending to be asleep.
Number 35. Butch burned down the camp. He can deny it all he wants, but who else could possibly be responsible for all that good dry wood? We saw him deny this on the show, and even after the season finishes, he still denies any responsibility.
Here's the question. Why'd you burn down the camp?
I did burn down the camp. Everybody says I burned down the camp, but see, I wanted fire because, we really didn't like the caiman, the snakes, the bugs, the spiders, and other creatures that I'd never seen before crawling over us at night. So I always wanted to make sure we had firewood for safety reasons.
Yeah, good job.
Number 36. At the final immunity challenge, Rob offered Jenna a deal that she quickly denied, and in retrospect, he says he should have offered to drop and have her bring him instead of vice versa. Not that he thinks it would have made any difference on her saying yes or no, though. But anyways, if you have ever wondered if he would have held true to his offer,
I said, Jenna, let's make a deal. I'll take you, and I would have honored it.
And Matt's watching,
and she said, no, you know what? Not so much. No, I don't think so.
Would you have?
Of course I would. You can't lie you can't lie point blank in front of the jury, 24 hours before the final vote.
Number 37. Every season, something happens where some of the audience goes full conspiracy theorist and accuses production of interfering and changing the show's result. Well, in the Amazon, there actually was a time where production interfered, but it wasn't to help the women, but actually the men.
The producer who was working with us had been saying to us, like, well, what are you guys doing for fishing? Like, how are you guys trying to catch fish? He said to us that maybe the problem was our bait. And he held up a worm and said, maybe what you need to be doing is looking for these things.
Whoa.
And we said, oh.
Interference.
I think it might have been
interference.
I guess so.
The game is rigged.
Number 38. Did Matt throw the final immunity challenge? And if he did, why? It seems like a massive miscalculation on his part in numerous ways, and here's the truth as to all of it.
Matt, did you really throw that competition?
Yes.
I thought so, because you do yoga. I mean, you're like Phantom of the Opera. You speak so many languages. You win everything. He's like so skilled at everything. Does everything.
I threw that challenge because I hoped that one of the people would be voting for me on the jury, which wasn't the case.
No.
Do you regret?
Did you know? But that's what I was thinking.
I knew right away.
Jenna, did you know? Did you really?
Yes.
I thought he did.
That's why I didn't vote for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you regret throwing
I think there's
it now?
no way that Matthew could have fell off that easily.
Number 39. So what if Matt hadn't thrown the challenge? What was his game plan if he somehow won and had to choose between Jenna and Rob?
That's a good question. I probably would have taken Jenna, and I probably would have lost again.
Number 40. The early seasons had the winners not getting their $1 million checks in the finale, but the day after on the early show. And prior to All Stars, this was actually a pretty big deal, as Mark Burnett and Jeff Probst personally showed up to deliver the check. Well, here's Jenna getting paid.
Jenna, how do you plan on spending this money?
Get Morgan the way out of here. I'm gonna take it.
All right, Jenna.
Number 41, get this. When Jeff jet skied into the finale, which we can never forget, he was originally supposed to go to Central Park like in Marquesas, but that all got changed within 24 hours of the live show. And let me tell you, as someone who's worked on these kinds of things, this would be madness to be doing.
Well, the storms that are going all over the country started making their way here, and so what took pretty much really 2 weeks to put up at Central Park and get this whole beautiful set was torn down and restructured in about 8 hours. It was really an amazing thing to watch.
Number 42. So what the heck? Why didn't Jenna agree to Rob's final 2 deal? Did she know she could easily beat Matt, or did she just hate Rob that much?
Well, because I knew that I was not going to beat Rob in the final 2. Because he by far was
You did the math in your head.
I did. I figured I'd have to betray Matthew, and then Dina, Butch, and Christy would also vote for Rob, and that's 4 alone. So he would have beat me, definitely.
It had nothing to do with the trust factor that you didn't trust him to take you.
No.
And even if he did take you, you're like, I don't want to be up against you.
No, I did not want to be up against Rob.
Number 43. In the preseason press for this season, Rob is guns a-blazing with his jokes, one of them being impersonations of presidents.
Well, we're lying out here in a hammock in the middle of Amazon rainforest, and I'm hoping against hope that there might be some fine-looking women on this show.
Number 44. In that same video, Matthew says he is a comedian. Unironically, he's dead serious. Matthew says he's a comedian, and while he's on the show, he's gonna have to contain this as to, actually, I don't know what he's thinking. Matthew's a comedian?
One of them is my sense of humor. I'm very, very, very sarcastic. I can sting people and they don't even know it. They may not know it for a day, a week, or a month, but they'll wake up one morning and they'll realize, Jesus, he got me. And I'm like that, and I'm gonna have to control how I treat other people and try not to be too funny, too lackadaisical. I'm gonna have to try to be pretty serious when required, but I'm also gonna try to provide some entertainment value for the rest of the gang.
Number 45. Isn't it wild to think that Coke threw so much money at Survivor that this was a reward for the winning tribe on a challenge to bring back a fridge of Coke to their camp? The bigger question is, how did they get that fridge to work in the middle of nowhere?
When we get back to camp, they give us a functional fridge. And so the way that it worked was, it was sort of like on a pedestal, and there must have been like a car battery that was like attached to the thing. And so they were able to sort of run like, it was like a college, like dorm room refrigerator. But Roger said we weren't allowed to put anything else in the refrigerator. Yeah,
right.
Put a water in there. And Roger said, nope, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. You burn more energy trying to drink cold water. I'm like, but I want to. No, we're not gonna. I didn't fight him on it, but that was not gonna happen.
Number 46, Mark Burnett is a character. Everything I find out about him from behind the scenes makes him sound like a real pot stirrer, if you know what I mean, but probably a fun guy to hang out with nonetheless. Here's what Burnett told Rob secretly.
And then Mark Burnett came, and so everybody's like eating and drinking, and we have candy, and it was such a really, really fun night. And I have some pictures from that night of me with the mustache. And Mark Burnett said to me, "Rob, you look gay like Freddie Mercury." Yeah, and then Mark Burnett was telling me that night about how Jenna outplayed me, and it's like no. I was like trying to tell him, like, no, it wasn't like that. He's like, yes, she outplayed you.
Number 47, let's end this video on a sweet note. Alex from this season and Kim Powers from Africa, that's right, they got married and are still married to this day.
In the aftermath, actually, I met my wife, who was also on Survivor, Kim Powers, who was just up here and totally forgot to mention that she met her husband as a result of being on Survivor.
I'm so sorry, I forgot to say, I met my husband.
Right? She met her husband because she was on Survivor.
I met my husband because of Survivor. That's the best part, for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, honey.
Yeah, no, it's okay, honey. I love you, really.
So which secret surprised you the most? Comment below and let me know. Thanks for watching, and doubly thanks for liking and subscribing. See you all next time.